Hello, welcome and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be talking about algebraic expressions. So you should be able to know by now that algebraic expressions include the following. So whenever we're dealing with algebraic expressions, it contains letters, which is our variables, say variables. It also includes our numbers, so 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. And it also includes our operators. So our operators being our plus, minus, multiplication, and division. So that's what algebraic expressions are all about. Okay, so the first question says, given the expression 5x squared plus 4xy minus 3x cubed minus 7. Then they say to us how many terms are in the expression. So another thing that you need to know is the fact that terms are separated by plus or minus. So if you see terms like this, we can see we have a positive there, a negative, and a negative. So that already indicates to us that this is our first term, our second term, our third term, and our fourth term. So how many terms are there in the expression? 4 terms. Pretty straightforward. Then they say, what is the coefficient of x? Whenever we're talking about coefficient, it is the number that's in front of the variable. So in this case, they're saying to us, what is the coefficient of x? So we need to go to our expression and identify x. This is x squared, so that's not what they're looking for. This is x. That's what they're looking for. So what is the coefficient of x? The coefficient of x is positive 4. If this was negative 4xy, then that means that the coefficient of x would be negative 4. If they say what is the coefficient of x squared, then we need to come look at x squared and we can see that it's 5 and it's a positive 5, so we'll then say positive 5. So always make sure that you take the sign along with it, okay, so that you don't lose any marks. So the coefficient of x is 4. Then the next question says, what is the constant term? So the constant term is the term that does not have any letters, any variables. That's the constant term because it won't change. Okay, so the constant term in this case we can see is negative 7. Please, guys, this is very important. You need to take the sign with it. If you don't take the sign, if you just write 7, then technically it's wrong. So you need to always put the sign as well. So in this case, the constant term is negative 7. So the constant term is the term that does not consist of any variables at all. So that's the constant term. And then the third question says, what is the degree of the expression? So the degree of the expression is the one with the highest power. So when it comes to the variables, so we have x, x, x. One has to the power of 2, one has to the power of 1, one has to the power of 3. So the degree will then be 3. Please note, guys, that whenever we're dealing with our exponents, if you see a number or variable with no exponent, like in this case over here, then the exponent of x is 1, the exponent of y is 1. So please note that. Do not leave it out because they didn't write anything. The exponent will then just be equal to 1. I hope this made sense. Let's move on. So this is some type of questions that they might ask you. And if we move on to simplifying, so this is one of the things that you'll always see in the exam. They will always say to you, simplify the following expressions. Whenever we're simplifying, sometimes they're looking for the value of x, sometimes they're just looking for you to just simplify the expression. So with solving for x, let me correct myself. With the solving for x, that only happens when they say solve for x. So that's when we're using equations and not expressions. So I made a mistake there. So again, when we have to solve for x is when we have a algebraic equation. But when we're simplifying is when we're using algebraic expressions. You need to be able to know the difference. Anyway, so let's look at the first one. So they say we have 3x, 4x minus 5, and we need to simplify. First things first is every time you have a bracket, you need to multiply everything that's outside of the bracket with everything that is inside the bracket. So if we say 3x, we're going to multiply it by 4x, and then we're going to say the negative 5 multiplied by the 3x. That's basically what we're going to say. I'm just going to write it down, but if you already know, then that's what you need to do, okay? So if we say 3x multiplied by 4x, we can just simply say that 3 times 4 will give us 12, and then x times x will give us x squared. Then the next term, 3x multiplied by negative 5. Please don't. Signs are important. They can make or break your answer. So negative 5. So we just say 3 times negative 5, which will then give us negative 15. So we go write down our negative 15. And then x times no x, it just stays x. And that is what we have. And from there, we can take out a common factor, which is a 3. So I'll have another video where we look at factorization in a bit. But we take out 3 as a common factor and we have x as a common factor. Then we say, what is 12 divided by 3? So if we say 12 divided by 3, we get 4. We had x squared, now we have x, we're left with x. Then minus 15 divided by 3 will give us 5. And then x and x is gone. And then that's what we can then see that, okay, this and this is the same. So that means that this is our answer. Okay, so this is just to check. If you really want to check if you got your answer right, then this is what you can do. But for now, our answer is just 12x squared minus 15x. That is our answer. Then I always also say, whenever you have, you can see we already have so many things over here. In order to indicate your answer, draw this line for the teacher or whoever, so that when they're marking your paper, they can see that, okay, this line is the line that contains the answer. So please do that for yourself as well. Then for the next question, B, let's use this. We have 9x squared, 1 over 3x plus 2x cubed minus 4x 1 over 2x 4 minus 3x squared. Please make sure whenever you're doing your calculations and you're trying to find the answer, write it as like literally equal to the question, because sometimes you'll have your question paper and this is what's on your question paper. But then when you write it down now, maybe let's say you forget to put this 2 or you forget to put the 4, and then you're going to get your answer wrong. So please make sure that you prepare it down accordingly. So in the previous question for this one here, we already noted that you need to multiply everything with everything inside the bracket. So same thing over here. It's the same thing we're going to do. So for the first one, we're going to say 9x squared multiplied by a third x. So if you're not sure, just say 9 multiplied by 1 over 3, and that should give you 3. Then you put your 3x squared multiplied by x will give us x cubed. Next, 9 multiplied by 2 will give us 18. So we write down our 18. And then x squared multiplied by x to the power of 3 will give us x to the power of 5. This goes back to laws of exponents. Please do not say 3 times 2 for the exponents and then get 6. That is incorrect. Laws of exponents says to us that if we're multiplying and 2 bases are the same, you add the exponents, and that's exactly what we just did. So that's for this term. Now we move on to the next part. Next part, negative 4 multiplied by a half. Remember, you need to take the sign, so that will give us negative 2. And then x and x to the power 4 will give us x to the power of 5. Then negative 4 multiplied by negative 3. That will give us a positive 12, and then x and x squared will give us x to the power of 3. Guys, it's important, the signs. Signs, signs, signs. Please, please, please. Because now you can see that we had a negative 4 and a negative 3, and that gave us positive. Because you should be able to know by now that a positive multiplied by negative is a negative, and a negative multiplied by negative is equals to positive. Okay. Now that we have done that part, we can have a look and see and ask ourselves, do we have any like terms? Like terms are terms that have the same. Like terms have the same variable, and exponent. This is very important because I see sometimes students just look at the variable and then already they say, oh, those are like terms, whereas the exponent is not the same. So if we come and look at what we have at the moment, let me just remove this. And okay, so we can see we have 3x to the power of 3. We have another one, x to the power of 3, which is positive 12. So those two are going to go together. And then we have positive 18x to the power of 5 and negative 2x to the power of 5. So that means that there's two sets of like terms. Then we say 3 plus 12, which will give us 15. So that will be 15x to the power of 3. Then we say 18 minus 2, which will give us 16. So positive. So a positive 18 minus 2 will give us positive 16. So 16x to the power of 5. And that is our answer, written in its simplest form. We can't continue from here. I hope that made sense. We move on to the next one. We have C over here, which is, let me try to write it down here. C is 3x 2 plus 16x 12 minus 8x4. So we already see that we have surds. Surds tell us that we need to then cancel each other and stuff like that. So whenever, I'll show you guys in a bit. But that's technically what we have. So again, laws of exponents tells us that if we have an outside exponent, it needs to get multiplied with all the inside exponents. You can't just multiply with that only. This 3 has 3 to the power of 1. So we need to multiply 1 with that 2 as well. Remember, guys, this is 3 times x to the power of 3. This is literally what we have to the power of 2. This is that. So if we say all the outside exponents multiplied with all the inside exponents, we're going to say 2 multiplied by 3, and we're going to say 2 multiplied by that invisible 1 that we have over there. So please just keep that in mind. So this will be then 3 to the power of 2, x to the power of 3 times 2, which will give us 6. Plus, the next section, we have surds. Okay, surds, same thing. We literally have 16 and then multiplied by x to the power of 12. This is literally the same as this. I'm going to try find an arrow to go there. That's that part, okay? So 16 and x squared. So we need to now simplify. So if we put 16 surd in the calculator, we'll then be able to get 4. So that will give us 4. And then x to the power of 12, that just means that we just need to say 12 divided by 2. So that's what that means. If we had, for example, 3 and then we have x to the power of 2, then this would be 2 divided by 3. So this, whatever this is, exponent divided by that outside. But then if it's just like this, you should already know that this is just already 2. So that would be 2 divided by 2. So that's what we have to do. So we have to say 12 divided by 2, which will then give us 6. So our x will be x to the power of 6. Then this case, we can just leave it like this for now. So if we simplify 3 to the power of 2, we'll get 9x to the power of 6 plus 4x to the power of 6 minus 8x to the power of 4. Then we can already see we have like terms. Oops. These two are like terms. So if we add up our like terms, we have 9 plus 4. That will give us 13. So we have 13x to the power of 6 minus 8x to the power of 4. And that is our answer. Okay, so that is our answer. Let me not forget to do that. And that is question C. Then question D, we have 3x. Let me try to find some space. We have 3x minus 2 in one bracket, and our other bracket 9x squared plus 6x plus 4. 9x squared, oops, 9x squared plus 6x plus 4. Okay. Now, the same concept that we have when it comes to our brackets is the same over here. Just because on one term we have a binomial and then on the other side we have a trinomial does not make it any different. So we have to multiply. So if we need to multiply this 3x with everything in the bracket, and then we need to multiply the negative 2 again with everything in the bracket. It's a bit tedious, but you have to do it. So if we get started, we have 3x multiplied by 9x squared. So if we say 3 multiplied by 9, that will give us 27. So we'll have 27. X multiplied by x squared will give us x cubed. Then 3x multiplied by 6x. So 3x multiplied by 6x will give us positive 18x squared. 3x multiplied by 4 will just give us positive 12x. Negative 2, I kept on saying this and I'll still repeat it. Negative sign, negative, negative. You need to take your signs into account. Negative 2 multiplied by 9 will give us negative 18x to the power of 2. Then a negative times a positive will give us a negative. So a negative 2 multiplied by positive 6 will give us a negative 12x. And then negative 2 multiplied by a positive, negative times a negative will still give us a negative. 2 times 4 will give us 8. Then from here, you can look at any like terms that you have. So we can see that these will cancel out because essentially this and this are like terms. And then we have this and this, which is also like terms. But you need to be able to know. If you don't, please continue with this. If you don't know, then just continue with this. But, you know, you need to be fast a little bit in the exam so that you don't miss any questions. But you should know that if you have positive 18 minus 18, it will give you 0. If you have plus 10 minus 10, it will give you 0. You have plus x minus x, it will give you 0. That's exactly what we have. We have plus 18x squared minus 18x squared, which will give us 0. Same with positive 12x and negative 12x. It will give us 0. So essentially, the only thing we have left is 27x to the power of 3 minus 8, and that is our answer. I hope that made sense. I really hope that made sense. If you have any questions, comment section, let me know. Then, just a hint, this is not a question that's asked right now, but just a hint. If you have x minus 2 and they say squared, and the question is simplified, guys, this just means that we have two of the same brackets. Then from there, you're going to use your FOIL method, and then you solve, and then boom, that's your answer. So if ever the question was x minus 3 to the power of 3, the 3 just means that we have three of the same brackets. So that's just a small hint that I wanted to give you guys. Okay, let's move on to the next set of questions, the final set of questions. So this is essential because I see when simplifying or when given questions like this and you guys substitute, the substitution is bad. So we need to make sure that we don't lose any marks. Given that A is equals to -1, B is equals to 7, and C is equals to 0, find the value of each of the following expressions. So they tell us, they say A is equals to 1, B is equals to 7, and then C is equals to 0. That's what they give us. So let's look at A. A says 17, A, B, C. This one is pretty straightforward. All we're just going to do is we're going to substitute. So we're going to say 17, put it in bracket. Whenever you're substituting, please put it in brackets so that you don't lose any marks. And you'll see what I mean when we get to some questions. B is 7, and then C is 0. Then you can put that in your calculator. So we'll have 17 bracket -1 bracket 7 bracket. I know it might seem like, oh, why must I put it in bracket? But guys, please, this will give us 0. I should have seen this because anything multiplied by 0 will give you 0. But anyway, that is equals to 0. That's the answer. Let me just write it in a different. So the answer is 0. Let's look at B. We have 3A plus 2B minus 7C. So the 3 plus the 2 minus the 7 will stay the same. C will substitute with 0. B will substitute with 7. And then A will substitute with -1. This is where now I say putting brackets is important, okay, so that you don't make any mistakes. So if we say 3 multiplied by -1, this will give us -3, plus 2 multiplied by 7 is 14, and then 7 times 0 will give us 0. Then we can just simply say -3 plus 14, and that will give us +11. So that will give us 11, and that is our answer. Next one is C. Okay, so 5a3b squared. C is 5a3 plus b squared. 5 plus, okay, so A is negative, bracket, -1 to the power of 3, and then our B value is 7, so we're just going to say 7, and then to the power of 2, and then we can just put that all in our calculator, and we can find our answer. 3 plus 7 squared. And that should give us 44. And that is our answer. Then for D, I'm just going to write it here, is -5a plus ab. I'm doing this last one. The rest you guys can try it. It's just E and F, and then let me know what you find. So this one is crucial. The reason why I'm ending on here is because it's very crucial. Guys, our value for A is -1. If we have this negative needs to stay there. So we still keep -5. And then we have our A value, which is -1, plus 8. B is 7. I'm just not saying. 7 minus 4, a is -1, -1, and then b is 7, and then we can find our answer. Put everything in your calculator, -5, -1, plus 8 multiplied by 7, minus 4, minus 1, multiplied by 7, and it's equals to 89. If we get a case, and this is not in the questions, but if let's say we get, we need to say -a plus b, for example. The reason why I say to you guys, you need to put in bracket, because someone will just say -1 plus 7, and then they get the answer, because a is -1, that's correct, and b is equals to 7. But you're forgetting the fact that we had this negative. So essentially we had to put a negative, which is this one, then bracket, then your a value, and that now changes it to +1 plus 7. This will give us 8. Whereas if you literally just had -1 plus 7, that would have given you negative. That would have given you 6 actually. And you can see that these two answers are not the same. And they're not the same just because of that negative. So it's always, always, always important to put whatever value you're substituting in bracket. But that's it for this video. I was just looking at some questions. Please have a look at E and F, give it a try. Same concept, same thing like what we were doing here. I even put it in different colors. So it should be able to make sense to everyone. If you don't understand, please do let me know. If you have any specific question, let me know as well in the comment section. I'll make a video, explain whatever it is that you're asking. But in the meantime, I hope this made sense. I hope you now understand how to simplify, how to substitute in expressions, and how to be able to determine your terms, your coefficient, your constant, as well as the degree of an expression. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.